Jimmy High Roller.
After years of judging, critiquing, hating on some of your hot takes, today I'm gonna share some of mine. It is only fair, after all, that if I put others' opinions up for debate, contention, ridicule, that I do the same for myself. Because like you, I too am just
Pale Pen and LeBron Dwayne.
a guy who has a few takes and opinions that I wouldn't dare say out loud in fear of having my ball knowledge put into question. But today, I'm gonna do just that. So here are my NBA hot takes. Today's video is sponsored by Teams Preparation only at DraftKings Pick 6.
Shout out you for subscribing to this channel.
Video, I thought about
subscribe to the channel. Bun the King, subscribe to this channel. It's free.
Some of the opinions I've had over the years about players, teams, eras. Opinions that I know are probably subjective and completely false, but I usually try to stay as objective and non-biased as I can. Do my research, refer to film, gather consensus when necessary. But in this video, I'm doing none of that. And instead, sharing with y'all 5 of my NBA hot takes. Alright, so my first hot take is kind of hard to admit. I almost don't even want to say it out loud, but I'm going to. Tim Duncan has become overrated. Now, before you bring out the torches, hear me out. When Tim Duncan was playing, there were maybe a few seasons throughout his 19-year career where he was considered the best player in the world. No one ever thought he was better than Shaq in his prime. Many fans at the time argued that KG had a higher peak than him, although I would disagree with this. And in the moment, for a good decade or so, you would be in the minority if you thought Tim Duncan was a better. For a good decade or so, you would be in the minority if
that was smooth as hell, man. Kobe was a smooth motherfucker, man.
You thought Tim Duncan was a better basketball player than Kobe Bryant. By the time Duncan retired, he was very underrated. Most fans had him somewhere around 15th, maybe just outside the top 10 greatest players of all time. But miraculous.
Who made this list?
Over the past 5 years or so, Timmy has creeped from 15th to 13th to top 10 to where
it is Jimmy's list.
He probably should be somewhere around 7 to now all the way within people's top 5, even top 3 players ever. And this isn't just a small community of Tim Duncan advocates pushing this propaganda. I'm seeing Duncan floating anywhere from top 5 to top 3 all time for a lot of fans these days. Even people claiming he may just be the greatest basketball player of all time. Guys, Tim Duncan was incredible, the best power forward of all time. He is not one of the 5 greatest players ever.
I've been one of those people, not to put him in the top 3 or anything, but I did say at some point that he had a better career than Kobe being Bryant, because if we're just comparing accolades and careers, obviously Kobe was more impactful. Tim was just a quiet guy, very basic, displayed consistent skill, nothing too versatile. Yeah, I just said 5 rings, and I think he had 3 Finals MVPs, and Kobe had 2. I don't know how many All-NBAs he has, but I reckon he's made more defensive teams. You know, I might be wrong, and fact check me, but I just, at some points I did say, obviously, I got Kobe because I'm a guard, and I love Kobe's game. Still no better than LeBron. I don't know why. I don't know when that became an argument, because it was never an argument to me. It was never an argument over the past 5 years. I don't know when it became an argument. I think it's the last year or 2. But some people trying to say Kobe better than LeBron. I'm like, bro, like, if you just forget the stats and everything, when they matched up, like, what are we talking about? They played against each other a good amount of time. I think they played 22 times, and Bron won a majority of that. If I'm not mistaken, it was like 75%, something. I don't know, but like, yeah.
Let alone the GOAT. And I think what's probably
I don't
happening
know
here
about
is
GOAT,
younger
though.
or maybe newer fans of the NBA are looking at his accolades and accomplishments and comparing them side by side to other greats and saying, wow, this guy really did a lot and his resume is better than just about anyone ever.
That's what I said. His resume, his body of work. We're not. I think when you're doing top greatest players ever, you have to compare the bodies of work. And I've said this many times. It shouldn't be done, and it's very hard to do because eras are different, competition is different. If you achieved in a certain era, you're great for your time. But if I want to compare it to something from this era, it wouldn't make sense because you're not going to be able to hold your own. And it's not saying put you in this era where you can up your skill. No, take you as you were, put you here. No, you wouldn't even make the G League. Bro. I'm just being honest. But Tim Duncan wasn't one of them. Tim Duncan was early 2000s, late 90s. His resume is insane. That's why just his resume alone puts him in a top 10 category. I don't know how he was out of the top 20, but just his resume alone. Say he's a better player. Say he's a better player than some of the other individuals like Bean. No. But then again, maybe he was a better team, like better player. Is like, can I put you in any system? Can I put you? Are you a plug and play player? That's how I look at it sometimes. Like for me, as much as I love Curry, Steph, Chef, Wardell Curry, I prefer KD. I think KD's a better player, just because we put him in more plug and play situations where he's been able to dominate. Like not being able to dominate, but he's being consistent. But then it's not fair to make that comparison because Steph has never left Golden State. But it's like I feel like the offenses have to be designed for Steph for it to operate. He's not ball dominant, but there's numerous plays being set for him. You see a nigga like Braun, where he more or less runs the offense. Well, not as much now because, I'm actually yapping. My fault, but let me play the video.
But if you watched Duncan's career unfold in real time, you would have felt the impact he had on the league and on the Spurs, but you would have also felt the massive role that the Spurs system and Popovich's coaching excellence played on Duncan. He was unbelievably consistent. He was a defensive juggernaut. He was a leader. But Duncan was also the beneficiary of the most competent organization in the league that prioritized team ball and continuity. From Hall of Fame teammates he played with for the majority of his career to all-time greats that played big roles in helping the Spurs win championships, Duncan was always surrounded by winning culture and winning teammates. This is by no means a knock on him. In fact,
Is that Pop?
he was a big reason why the Spurs were so cohesive. But only in retrospect would you look at his laundry list of accomplishments and neglect all of the details that came with it. For many years, the Spurs as a team and organization were seen as this staple of excellence more than Tim Duncan was as an individual. It wasn't Duncan and the Spurs. It was just the Spurs. They were one and the same, not this pretty good team with a fantastically great player on it. But if you just look at his resume, you wouldn't know that. You could argue Duncan had maybe a top 3 career in NBA history, but as a player, he's just not on the same tier as Jordan or LeBron or Kareem. I don't know how after he retired, he has slowly crept past Shaq.
Tim Duncan pre-retirement to post-retirement. Whose list are these and why don't... So I see Bron first. I see Bill Russell second. Bron's at 5. Bron's at 3. Where's Tim Duncan T is 9, 10. Whose list are these? Braun, MJ. I don't know if you guys... I'll use my mouse so you can see what I'm looking at. So, TD's 5th here. 5th, 4th, 4. I had him at 5. I actually had him at 5. I've been had him at 5. But now I have to push him down to 6 because I got Bean at 4. Actually, I got Bean at 3, to be honest. I got Bean at 2. I got him over MJ, but that's a conversation for another day.
and Bird,
Just
and
basketball
Russell,
players?
and even Magic for some people. Duncan is one of my all-time favorite players, but he is not a top 5 player in NBA history. And it's odd to see a player who was so underrated for so many years become slightly overrated today. Now, I'd like to think of myself as sort of a board member, an executive within the organization of LeBron fans and Glazers. So this next take pains me to say, but
I don't want to hear it. I might just skip
organization of LeBron fans and
But you know what?
Glazers. So
As a man,
this next
go on,
take
listen.
pains me to say. But LeBron has sabotaged many good situations throughout his time in the NBA, and his career as a whole has suffered because of it. We all know that LeBron has been held back by some bad front offices, selfish teammates, terrible roster constructions, but what doesn't get talked about enough is how he has gone out of his way to try to make good situations better and has inadvertently ended up just ruining things for himself in the process. Like in 2014, when he decided to sign with the Cavs instead of staying with the Heat. Why did he do that? Well, we all know why.
Why did he do that?
The Heat were getting old, Wade was past his prime, and the Cavaliers had the cap space and a budding young star in Kyrie Irving to help reel Bron back to Cleveland. This decision eventually led to a championship, but what if he just stayed with the Heat? With Pat Riley and Spoelstra, where there's culture and accountability. I imagine his career would have played out even better considering where the Heat are today.
Nah. I disagree. I disagree, Jimmy. This is not a good take. It's not a good take. I'm going to think of a reason and then come back to you later. But for now, I disagree. I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying because of the Heat culture. But, nah. I thought you were going to say something I didn't. I was like, oh my God, you're actually right. But no.
Or what about when the Cavs went to back-to-back finals in 2016 and 2017, but since LeBron didn't feel they had enough to win it all, he orchestrated an entire implosion of their roster, which
Yeah, Kai did leave. LeBron didn't get rid of Kai. Kai left by himself. 2017. Damn. But thing is, how do you know it was LeBron that orchestrated? I know the whole regime, but like, to base the whole point off of something that hasn't been proven, I sound like I'm trying to defend this nigga, man. But you guys, okay, objectively break down each person's point. Doesn't really make sense to take the whole GM thing and run with it. To say he orchestrated this, it's a bit crazy.
ended up being vastly worse and then just left them again once things were beyond repair. Or most recently, when the Lakers won a championship in 2020, and instead of reloading with the same roster, the Lakers returned with a whole new team.
The Lakers returned with a whole new team. How you gonna make it Bron? Like, I don't like when niggas do
seasons
this.
Later, these decisions
That is fucking insane, though. Like, only two of these niggas. Damn.
do not happen without LeBron's okay.
That's
Throughout his
the-
career, he has been so quick to want more, want something better, and he can't wait around for it to happen organically, so he tries to force these things to happen. And when it doesn't work out, which it hasn't worked out a lot, the organization, the coaching staff, and even his own teammates end up taking the fall. As great as he is, LeBron has tried to play GM way too often in his career. And when he can't, or he's out of options, he just moves on to the next new shiny thing. If he just stayed with the Heat, or stayed with the Cavs, or allowed rosters to build chemistry and young players to develop naturally over time, I think his career and the perception of it would probably be better right now. LeBron has willed his way to some of the greatest feats the sport has ever seen, but he has also sabotaged a lot of good things along the way. Now, here's a hot take for you, and I don't care if I'm wrong. The corner
He's right.
3 is not the easiest three-point shot.
You know how long? I don't know if it's just me. I can't hit corner threes consistently. I mean, I don't really practice, but top of the key for me is so much easier. Wing threes are so much easier. I'm not even a 3-point shooter. I just get home and go like eight in a row. But I can't corner threes. To me, I always feel like I'm either gonna overshoot, hit the side of the backboard, or maybe just because the way I shoot, I kind of shoot like this, like it's like this. It's weird, but let's see what he says.
For years, everyone has said the corner 3 is easier than any three-pointer, and so there's an advantage to be had there if you use them right. I wholeheartedly disagree. In the NBA, sure, the corner three is shorter than on the wing or at the top of the key, but if you play ball, you know this shot is as scuffed as it gets. When you're looking at the hoop straight on, you just have a wider margin of error. You can shoot long and bank it in. You have a better perception of depth since you're looking at the backboard. It may just be psychological, but whatever it is, you cannot convince me that this shot is easier than this shot. According to NBA.com, this season the league as a whole is shooting 39% from corner threes, whereas above the break, teams are shooting 36.1% on average. Now, that's a substantial difference in efficiency from these two different shooting zones, and it would lead you to believe the corner three is easier. But I think shooting percentage is higher on corner threes than threes above the break for two reasons. One, the best shooters in the league, the guys who are on NBA rosters to drill a few threes a game, usually spend the most time in the corner. And since most players who set up shop in the corner are sharpshooters, the overall efficiency from corner threes is boosted compared to on the wing or at the top of the key. And reason number two, a lot of threes taken above the break are pulled up off of dribbles, players flying off of screens trying to square up and get a good shot off. And many times the players attempting these kinds of threes are the best player on their team, but not the best shooters. On the other hand, corner threes are almost exclusively set shots coming off of passes to a wide open man. The very nature of offenses in the NBA makes these corner threes easier than any other threes because plays are often drawn up to get open looks from here from the best shooters in the world shooting set shots with no one contesting. Corner threes, especially those real deep ones where you feel like you're behind the backboard, are not easier than any other three-pointer. Now I know I'm gonna catch some flack for this next take, and that's okay, because in a redraft of every player in NBA history just after their rookie season, I would pick Victor Wembanyama first overall. You might say this is just recency bias, you may think I'm crazy, and you're probably right, but
I actually said something similar recently. Every player in NBA history, you're getting the evolution of the big man. He's 7'5", but in reality he's a full man. If he tries to rebound, he can rebound. He just doesn't really try. Can score on his tippy toes, and he can shoot the tray, so he can space out the floor. He's got some freedom to him where you just don't know what you're gonna get. He plays with so much liberty that it just feels. It doesn't even feel real. So it looks like a flipping nigga from Space Jam. So number one overall will probably be him, because I feel like with him it's easier to organize a whole unit just around him. Like it's easier to do so because you don't have to worry about as many things. You don't have to worry about having a point guard to feed him the ball as much. Obviously that's ideal if you want him to maximize his scoring, but if you got a willing passer in your team, he's gonna get the ball in positions he can actually create offense by himself. So I think. When we would go number one, probably two. As much as I love Jordan, I couldn't start one with him just because of how he plays. He lacks in a lot of other things. He's not as complete as a basketball player as people make it out to be, especially watching him. He wouldn't be number one. I think I'll probably take Shaq before I take Jordan. Probably Bron at one because Bron does everything. He can be ball dominant. He can play off ball. Wemby could be one as well. Look, as Kola would be an ideal first player to have, especially as a big man that can play point forward. So let me see what he says.
Wemby would be my first pick. His progression, his poise, his confidence, his skill set, his potential. If you lined up every great player since the inception of the NBA, and if we're just going off of what we've seen from them in their rookie season, I would pick the kid in San Antonio. Now, my answer may be different if I were to pick anyone before they played in an NBA game. Maybe it's LeBron or Kareem. But based on what we know so far, give me the 7'4" alien. Wemby can do everything on the court. He's got the offensive skills, the defensive ability, and willingness. From what has been said about him, he is like a sponge with information. He's learning exceptionally fast on the court. And I think what's just as impressive as his physical tools, the kid is not afraid of the moment. He isn't timid, he can talk trash and take it too. He's got heart, and you can tell he really loves the game. Now, I think some players who are up there with him for the first overall pick in a redraft post-rookie season might be Shaq. were up there with him for the first overall pick in a redraft post-rookie season might be Shaq, Kareem, MJ. Duncan was incredible as a rookie, maybe Hakeem. Overall, their numbers are about equal.
Hakeem had 20 and 11 as a rookie. That's tough. Wemby is the 3 blocks, bro. TD averaged 2.5. See, Shaq, that's why I said Shaq could probably go number 1. Because he was insane from the get-go. I still don't know what does BPM mean? But then if you look, Wemby is the youngest on here. He just turned 20 at start of the year, so has to be Wemby, bro. Yeah.
As impressive. But the thing that stands out about Victor is that he's doing this at 19, 20 years old on a minutes restriction. He's already an elite two-way player, possibly even the best defensive player in the entire league. And he has the advantage of playing in an era where he is allowed to develop a well-rounded offensive game from the post all the way out to the perimeter, something that Shaq, Hakeem, and Kareem never had. The improvements he's made from his first game this season to now are already so massive that his progress alone really makes him stand out even amongst the greatest rookies ever. And quite frankly, I never witnessed these other players play in their rookie seasons. I wasn't there to see it in real time. And of all the rookies I have seen over the last 15 years or so, Wembanyama is way ahead of all of them. Is this a terrible argument to make here? Sure. Does that change my pick? No. If you can ignore what we know about these players outside of their first season in the league, and if you had to choose one of them, I think Wemby would go first overall. At least for me, he would. By the time these other players came into the league, they were already relatively polished. Jordan was still pretty raw, and LeBron was playing off of sheer athleticism. But Wemby is having one of the greatest rookie seasons ever, and just by watching him, you can tell he's still just learning how to play in the NBA. So not only is he already incredible, he's just barely scratching the surface of his potential.
Hey!
Now, can this take come back to bite me in the ass? It sure can. But I don't care.
Want it to get
if
hurt,
I could
man.
choose any player in NBA history based off of their rookie season and their potential and trajectory, I'm picking Victor Wembanyama. Now, I don't know if this last take is even a hot one anymore, but it needs to be said. The 2017 Warriors are by far the best NBA team ever. Not just the best team assembled, not the best team on paper. They are, by a pretty wide margin, the best, most cohesive team in NBA history. Over the years, people will argue that the 96 Bulls were better, or the 2000 Lakers, or if they're really out of their mind, they'll say the 86 Celtics. But no, the 2017 Warriors would dog walk any team you put in front of them. They were so good that it pissed people off. They were so good that everyone unanimously agreed that it wasn't even fair. It's been long enough now that the painful hopelessness
I'm being serious. It was a thing where NBA Finals game was the Cavs tonight. I still don't remember the Warriors winning the season. Like, look, I'm just even while it was happening. Like, that's why some people forget KD has 2 rings. It just felt like it's like, but that's not even fair, bro. You got the second best player in the league and the third for fourth best in the same team. They don't play the same position. They complement each other's games. It's a perfect match. One of them is a plug and play player that can go anywhere and do his thing, and give you 30. Like, what? Like, it didn't make sense. It didn't make no sense. That's why I just felt like, what the fuck, man? Because from that, everyone knew, okay, no one else can win now because them niggas is too good together as a team. KD is not a ball hog. He can score the ball, however, with limited dribbles. He's very efficient. So it's like, it just didn't make sense, man.
this team inflicted upon NBA fans around the world has subsided. But I'm sure we can all still remember just how overwhelming this team was. They made really good teams look incompetent. I mean, they had everything. Arguably the greatest player in the world at the time, the greatest shooter ever at the peak of his powers, the most versatile defender in the league, arguably the second greatest shooter ever, and somehow still managed to have a very solid, well-rounded bench. And not only did they have the most talent, but all of that talent worked really well together. All of their skill sets and intentions meshed about as well as a team could. So not only were they the most loaded team in NBA history, they all bought in. and they all just wanted to win. So I not only think they're the best team ever, I don't even think it's close. Pick any other team to go against them, specifically the 2017 version of the Warriors, and the opposing team would be lucky to sneak 1, maybe 2 wins in a 7-game series. And those are 5 of my NBA hot takes. Hopefully I didn't alienate every NBA fan throughout this process.
Okay, I think a lot. The thing is, when you can argue a take with reason, guys, Bron just had 40 points against the Nets. The game just ended. Fuck, I'm gonna react to that right now. What the Bron had 40. This is the second 40-point game. 90% from 3. 90%. Yeah, alright, we're gonna go into the video right now. Alright, free subscribe to the channel. Brr, great reaction, Jim Harris. Shout out to you.